Hello and welcome to Real Watchers Movie Club. My name is Garrett.
And I'm Kevin.
And we are your hosts. Movie Club is a show where we pick a movie every week and discuss it, just like a book club. On today's show, we're covering the Vegas drama of Casino. Our thoughts and more coming up on Movie Club. Released in 1995, Casino was directed by Martin Scorsese and stars Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Sharon Stone. In Las Vegas, two best friends, a casino executive and a mafia enforcer, compete for a gambling empire and a fast-living, fast-loving socialite. It is currently ranked 142 on IMDb's Top 250 and has a 4.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. It was nominated for one Academy Award for Best Actress for Sharon Stone. Before we dive into our thoughts, though, we do want to issue a spoiler warning for Casino. We're going to be talking about everything that happens in this movie, go see the movie. If you haven't yet, make your decision up for yourself and come back, and we'll discuss it. It's okay. You can pause it. But stay tuned to the end of the show to find out what movie we're covering next week, because it's actually the first part of a two-parter. Okay, Kevin, so Casino was your pick this week after my No Country for Old Men pick last week. What made you pick Casino?
I think I started watching this movie and then didn't finish it, not because it was bad, but I forgot where I started watching it. And it was pretty good. And then I don't remember anything else. So I know it's a Scorsese movie, and some of his movies are highly recommended by a lot of reviewers and everything. And I don't think I've only seen a couple of Scorsese films, so I wanted to check more of his work out, and I'm glad I did.
I mean, yeah, of course. We already watched Shutter Island here on Movie Club, and then the man has a long, long history of films, and so many great ones that it's kind of hard to pick one, really. And so I was really excited to pick Casino, actually, because I had never seen Casino, even though I own it. I bought it when it was on like half off sale, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch it at some point. Might as well buy it. And I had never seen it, didn't really know anything about it. I just knew there's like a YouTube video of the scene where they find the cheaters at the blackjack table and then deal with them. And I'd seen that clip on YouTube before. And so I was excited to actually jump into the movie and see what was really going on. And so now that we've both seen it for the first time, Kevin, what did you think of Casino?
I liked it. I mean, I guess I like Vegas atmosphere or the gambling aspect, but I liked going kind of behind the scenes of a casino. I know it's very, cinemized? Is that a word? Like it's very
dramatized.
Dramatized. Yeah, it's very dramatized. But even sometimes those kind of get me into the movie a little bit more, because I don't know how I don't know how casino works. I don't know how slot machine work or how they place them where they want to place them, everything like that. So it was very interesting on that aspect of it. And that's what really got me hooked, was the first part of this movie is how they do casinos. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of interested in this. And back in the day, and this was, what year is this?
This took place in the 70s and 80s.
70s and 80s, and I liked how small Vegas was in the 70s and 80s. It's not like this big attraction now. But I like that atmosphere around it, and I liked he did Goodfellas, right? Scorsese.
Yes, he did Goodfellas as well.
I really liked Goodfellas as well, so I knew I was gonna kind of like the gangster vibes of this, but I like how they kind of gave it a little bit more of a like friend story that's not really friends, if you catch my drift there.
Sure, yeah, and I totally get that, and I think when he's doing his gangster stuff is it's obviously what he's kind of most known for, but it's because he does it well. So yeah, I think I would say that I walked away liking this movie as well. I wouldn't say that it is anywhere near his best. In fact, I think that this has some issues, and I do want to kind of bring those up as we go along. But I still do like the film. I think it's a good one. I just don't think it's great.
Yeah.
And I think that I guess we can just go ahead and start jumping into it, though. I think that there are two big issues for me here. The first is that the film, and I very rarely say this, and it's because it's never really an issue. The film is too long.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
It's an issue that a couple of Scorsese movies have. I mean, Killers of the Flower Moon is pretty long. The Irishman is unbearably long, but I think that comes from it comes from a good place. So I don't think he's trying to do anything, but he's trying to tell a complete narrative and a complete picture of what it looked like at the time and what it was like. And that would be fantastic if it didn't hurt the second problem for me, which is if it was a 3-hour epic about Vegas, I would all be down. Show the mob stuff, show how they run everything, all the challenges, whatever. But my other problem is I don't care for the relationship stuff in this movie.
Okay.
Now, I do want to be very clear. Sharon Stone is amazing in this movie.
Yeah, she's really good.
Her performance is fantastic. Her character, though, is kind of reprehensible. She's kind of everyone in this movie is a shitty person. Let's be real.
But she is
a really shitty person.
Yeah.
And, it almost kind of feels like at some points the movie wants you to feel for her. Whereas, I felt more for Robert De Niro the entire time.
Yeah.
Even though he's incredibly toxic.
Yeah.
She forces her into marriage pretty much. I mean, obviously she goes along with it, but of her own accord. But she didn't want it, and then he just talks his way into it. It's kind of weird. The whole relationship just feels odd, and it's kind of you get one of those things. You get that dated perspective of what the family is supposed to be, right? Oh yeah, we'll get you a home and a kid, and you'll be happy because you're a woman, and that's kind of what it feels like. And obviously that's of its time, and I understand that, but it just comes off really the wrong way for me personally.
Well, I like how you said that they want us to feel for Stone's character, but then she messes it right back up again, and then I'm like, okay, I don't feel sorry for her at all. So if it maybe made me care a little bit more and not have so many oh, she's back and she won't do it again, and then immediately does it again, I think I would have felt a little bit more about that.
Sure.
It happens way too many times and was kind of predictable during the end of towards the end of the movie of what was going to happen, what she was going to do and everything. And I feel like De Niro's character, I felt more for him because I'm like, he has to deal with this person.
Literally, he's outside of the relationship. Obviously, he has to deal with all the shit that she's putting him through. But he's just trying to run the casino. He is just trying to run a successful business, and he's doing a fantastic job of it.
Yeah.
Granted, as we'll get to, the mistakes that they are made along the way from various different people's parts are what ends up kind of crumbling the whole thing down. But he's very competent. His entire every time he's talking to the slot manager and just making him feel like a complete doofus is so great.
It is. But that's what a manager does too. It makes him feel all that powerful because he was.
Yeah. And if you're doing something wrong, you get called out for it. That's just the way it is. Or not doing something. But that also just lends itself to his performance. De Niro is amazing in this movie. I don't know how he didn't get nominated. It must have been a very crowded year with performances. I thought this is one of his better performances in that he's not always the super threatening Robert De Niro gangster type character we always see. He is he's charismatic, but he's also threatening. And he is he looks out for the good in people and tries to do good by people, but then will also make those mistakes, and it's all in character, and you never question it for a minute. And that's partially him doing his performance, but also the writing for his character as well.
Yeah, exactly. And what was I gonna say?
Sorry if I made you lose track.
No. I was thinking about the time. You are so correct on this 3-hour movie. If it gets cut down to 2:30 with all of the relation stuff that's going on, I think this is I'm not going to say a great movie because it is a great movie, but it would be an even better movie because it cuts off some of the, I don't want to say unreasonable things that happen. It's just, it was too repetitive in the movie because we already knew what was going to happen when she left and she comes back. She left and comes back. So if cut that off a little bit, I think I would have given it a higher score. Maybe more Vegas in there would have been really cool as well.
Yeah, more Vegas and how the mob was involved, because that's actually like, that is history. That is what happened. And that is really fascinating. You know, I think that, like, you're right. I think you cut out about 30 minutes of this movie and it'd be perfectly fine. But the problem is, I think that the problem is just inherent to this script, because what ends up happening is that everything that happens with the relationship is important to the movie. Because the best way I can put it, the entire movie is a Jenga tower. And every single mistake that a character makes is pulling one of those Jenga blocks out, and then eventually it all comes crumbling down. True. And, you know, obviously these people are all shitty. I mean, the only person we're probably rooting for is Robert De Niro. Yeah. But, like, even then, you still want to see everything fall apart and fail, and people get, you know, they get consequences for their actions. Like that's what you want to see in this movie, and it gives it to us. I would say that once all the shit starts going down at the end, it felt very cathartic, and especially after the little bit of a kind of false or a red herring that the intro gives us. De Niro gets into his car and blows up. Fantastic. Actually, like, I wasn't expecting. It jump scared me because my speakers were too loud. But like, it was like, holy shit. Like, and then the title sequence is great for the movie. Very almost Bond-like, which was kind of cool. But yeah, once everything comes crashing down at the end, it's so fascinating to see. And a lot of people have said that they would like to see a Casino 2 that goes over how the strip was rebuilt on those junk bonds, like they talk about at the end.
Oh, that's true.
Which would be kind of interesting to see.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, I think once it all comes out at the end, it's that's when it's really fascinating.
Okay, I wanted to ask you. I know 2 weeks ago when we watched Blade Runner, you watched the theatrical with narrating in it. How did you like the narration in this movie?
I think it was. I think it worked for this movie because there's history here, and I think that, you know, with Blade Runner, it was a lot of like feeling and like what I'm doing, and it's more film noir-y, which is hit or miss. Here, it's like, oh, and then that's where the skimmers go to do their skimming, and they always take a cut off the. It's feeding information in this one that, like, I like, you know, if I didn't know that the counters were skimming off cash. I mean, I think there's like a shot or two where they show like them pocketing 100 or something. Like, I wouldn't have known. And like, but also the fact that it comes from several different perspectives. It's De Niro, it's Pesci. At one point, it's Frankie. Yeah, which is really took me by surprise. That was really fun. When he's like talking to the mob boss and he lies. Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I could lie. I could tell the truth." That was really cool. I don't think we ever heard Sharon Stone narrate. I think it was just Pesci, De Niro, and at the one point Frankie.
And I like the different perspectives that they have on how they dealt with situations. Because Pesci's the more, they're both gangsters, but he's the most gangster because he puts them in their place pretty much. When De Niro's like, okay, I'm gonna ask somebody to do it nicely. If they don't do it nicely 3 times, then I have to get involved with it. And hearing like his inner thoughts a little bit, both of their inner thoughts were really nice to hear, because I think I would have gotten a little bit lost if there wasn't like some type of narration going through. Like, he brings the suitcases to the supermarket has to bring it back for him, and that's where the town. So like all of that, I absolutely love the narration and in this movie.
Yeah, I think it really works for the type of movie that Scorsese is trying to do here. There's a lot of information being passed at you very quickly, and it works. But there is one thing that reminds me of that we did not talk about, because obviously we talked about Robert De Niro. We kind of mentioned Sharon Stone. Sharon Stone, again, like, her character may not be the most likable, but the way she plays the character is fantastic. I do think that she deserved the Oscar nomination for sure. But Joe Pesci, man. I mean, he's kind of typecast, and he plays a lot of the same character in a lot of Scorsese movies,
but he does it so well.
He does it so fucking well that you don't matter, like, or that you're like, it doesn't matter what you think. Like,
exactly.
He's very similar to Goodfellas in this movie, but there are some very key differences. He's not as violent in this movie as he is in Goodfellas, for sure. He does have his moments, but like, he also, I feel like he has a lot more, like, meaning, like, not meaningful, but like more nuanced dialogue here. Like, you know, like talking with Sharon and with Ginger, but then, like, you know, we get a lot more of him. He is definitely more of a focus in this movie than he is in Goodfellas, because Goodfellas, he's kind of like the rabid dog barking and attacking people. You know, like, he's not a main character like he is here.
Like a sensible person. In Goodfellas, he's violence, but then when Ginger comes around, he's kind of caring for her all the time, which you don't see that in Goodfellas, which was kind of cool to see him. I don't want to say act out of his comfort zone, because he could probably play a lot of stuff, but the movies that I have seen him in, he doesn't have that affectionate side of the characters that he gets presented with.
At least with the Scorsese gangster type movies.
Yeah,
for sure. He's a little bit different in The Irishman. He's a lot more of like an older guy and not as involved in the violence, which is kind of interesting too. So, but yeah, he's been all three of the main actors in this movie are fantastic. Also, I forgot to put it in my review, but Don Rickles as the casino manager who works with Robert De Niro. He's the older bald guy. Legendary comedian in a serious role that Scorsese actually offered him. He's great too. Like, I never once felt like he was trying to be funny. He was playing the role well, and it's really cool to see, because I love his comedy and his stand-up.
But I like how everybody fits in. No one's like out of the ordinary in this movie, because there could be, like, Ginger could be the really funny, stocky girl that gives a lot of laughs, but no one's really laughing unless something bad happens, and it's like a cynical laugh or something like that. So I'm kind of glad it took a serious approach, but does have some vulnerable moments in it, but doesn't make it funny. Because that's where I think this movie could have actually, like, fallen down in points for me if it was unnecessarily funny for some reason.
Sure. I mean, you don't want to just laugh at something because it's bonkers or it's crazy or whatever. Like, there needs to be some sort of substance to it as well. Not intentionally funny, I think, is what we're looking at saying there. But I mean, that's really the meat and potatoes of it, if you want to say. I think like there is some really good cinematography in this movie, some really fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that the music inclusions, like, there's not a lot of like score in this movie. It's a lot of like music of the time, which I think is used very well. You know, nothing's really forced or anything. There's a particular moment when Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro get in the car, and there's a song by Fleetwood Mac playing, and I feel like the lyrics actually lined up pretty well with what was going on, which is rare for me to say, because usually I hate when movies do that. But like, it wasn't just playing the music; it was playing on the radio in the car in the scene. It wasn't just playing ethereally somewhere, you know. So I really think that there are some cool inclusions in this, and I think that you know, I think that it's one of those movies that I'm gonna have to rewatch it and to see if I maybe pick up on some more stuff. Because, to be fair, I also watched this over the course of 2 sittings.
I watched this in 1 sitting. I watched it all yesterday.
I give full credit to you. It's not that I can't do 3 hours, and I probably could have done this all Monday night or Tuesday night or whatever. But like, I had just had things going on. I had to split it up where I had time, and so I think it was just as good doing it in 2 sittings. But I would like to do it in 1 and kind of get the full picture. And see if there's anything I missed. Maybe the stuff with Sharon Stone grows on me with the relationship. But, you know, feeding into the idea of just mistake after mistake after mistake and trust and things like that. But yeah, I think, you know, at the end of the day, I just think it's a good film. Not really a great one, though.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin. So since this was your choice this week, I'll go ahead and give my score first. I honestly forget the order when we do these. So I'll just go ahead and go first.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like I said earlier, I think that the film is good, not great. I think that Scorsese tries to go for this large scale gangster Vegas epic, and I don't quite think that it is up to the title of that. I think that it gets a little too bogged down in a couple areas. It's definitely a little too long and could use some trimming. But I still think it's a great film, or a good film. You know, Robert De Niro's fantastic, Sharon Stone's fantastic, Joe Pesci is fantastic. All the performances here are really good. It has some great cinematography, some great music inclusions. Sorry. And just at the end of the day, give it a 78 out of 100, which is equivalent to a 3.5 stars from me on Letterboxd. So,
Gotcha.
What about you?
So I agree with you. The movie is a little long, but if you can stretch it out a little bit and just hang in there, it is a very enjoyable movie at the end of the day. I love the Vegas Strip vibes that we got from it. I like the behind the scenes kind of how to run a casino, which I thought was very interesting as well. I gave it an 85. I gave it an 87 out of 100, and I just loved the vibe that it was giving. As soon as it started, it hooked me, and that's how I could watch it for those 3 hours, because it starts off with him getting in the casino, and it just goes on from there, and then you get to start to learn about everybody else, and it takes you on a roller coaster, and at the end, I don't know. Sometimes some people say they would be okay with the end of the roller coaster. Some people want to go again. So I enjoyed it. Will I be watching again anytime soon? Maybe not. But if someone wants me to recommend a movie to them and like gangster movies or Scorsese, I would suggest this to them.
Awesome. Well, there you go. There are our scores, and the question now falls to you. What do you think of Casino? We'd love to hear what you have to think down in the comment section down below, but remember to be polite to one another, because one of them could be Joe Pesci somewhere out there, and he will hunt you down. But next week, speaking of gangsters, we'll be starting our journey into the Corleone family with The Godfather. I am so excited for this, considered one of the best films of all time, so cannot wait to have Kevin watch this for the first time.
Yep.
After hearing so much about it, I'm sure. But make sure to watch it before next week so you're not spoiled. But again, thank you so much for watching. We have our live stream that goes live every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And these episodes of Movie Club come out every single Friday at 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So you have them in time for your morning commute, walk, journey, whatever you want to call it. But thank you again so much. And until next time, keep those eyes on the screen.